How you making out, Josh?
Well, we decided to start on a new project. My alternator decided it wanted to lean on back, so I pulled the old bracket out, put a new one in, make everything line up. So this way, in case I wanted to go on a road trip, it actually would make it.
So what you're witnessing here is a phenomenon. Actually, a couple of phenomenons, but there are two golden rules when it comes to like automotive projects. The first is that no project ever moves ahead in a straight line. If you plan on doing something, you know, to go to A to B, you can guarantee you're gonna see C, D, E, F, G, and H before you can get back to B. That's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast. And then the other thing is that very seldom does a project finish with the same intent that it starts. And I want to talk about that also, which is another project that happened in this shop. But first we'll talk about Josh's over here. So we're moving along. Originally the goal here was to just do the transmission. You know, there it is. She's sitting on the ground. And we got our clutches soaking in tranny fluid. So that's the next step. But he decided to take care of some of the loose ends on the car before it went back together again. And I think it was a good decision because it's here, it's now, I can help him. There isn't a lot going on, so, you know, that's going good. So what are you changing on this exactly now?
So alternator bracket, the steering gearbox. So that was a fun thing. I was out here the other day and I was like, well, the transmission's not in the car anymore and I'm still leaking and it's not in the car. So what else uses ATF? And so I ended up having to replace the steering gearbox.
Yeah, so the box is getting changed now. You ordered a new one?
Yep, it'll be here end of the week sometime.
Okay. And then there was a mismatch on the alternator brackets because the car has, whoever put the car originally just used a kind of a mixed bag of stuff. So it has the correct non-AC crank pulley on it and the correct non-AC water pump pulley, but it had AC alternator brackets. So the alternator was like a skewed compared, you know, it wasn't in line. So it was going to chew up the belt. So he bought this kit.
Classic Industries.
This kit right here.
Yeah.
That's a nice kit actually. How much was that?
That's like $40.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So he's got the kit with all of the right bracketry and bolts and hardware and spacers and everything else. And that's what he's working on right now. And then there were other things too. The car had those China-matic valve covers on it, right? So yeah. we dug up a pair of period correct big block valve covers, and he's got them painted a nice snazzy Rust-Oleum orange. And it's not a show car, but it's perfect for the.
Oh yeah,
it looks good. And while he was at it, he decided to get like alternate lifestyle with the with the transmission cross member, which I think it's probably the prettiest tranny cross member I've ever seen.
That thing was a pain in the butt to clean, but
yeah,
it was.
But it looks good.
Yeah,
it looks good. So, steering box will be in, and also going 2 exhaust manifolds.
Yep.
So the car is going to leave here once it's all buttoned up, and it's going to go to the tranny shop, the exhaust shop,
mm-hmm.
and get just connect the manifolds to the exhaust that's already under the car.
Yeah, I've already called them. They're like, yeah, just let us know when you're on your way, and we'll be ready for you. So, yeah. Easy peasy.
It's a lot of extra work. It's a lot of like side trips that nobody. Sorry, man. That nobody expected to take with it, but it's a worthwhile side trip because the car is going to leave here that much more solid, sounding better, you know, feeling better, less leakage. Everything's going to be groovy with it. So that's moving forward. And the next step, I keep saying it, the next step was to rebuild the transmission. That really is the next step. He's going to finish this up, and then tomorrow we'll do the trans. It's all ready to go up on the bench. So the other thing, okay, like I said, not all of these projects go in a straight line, as we're witnessing here. And then in the other situation, not all projects, not all efforts finish in the same spirit in which they started. And by that, I'm talking about the Junkyard Jet. So people have been asking me about that. You know, I'll turn this so we can watch Josh work over my shoulder while there we go. I gotta get better with this GoPro thing. You'd think I'd have the hang of it by now, right?
I mean, you are a professional.
I am a professional. So, my glasses are straight this time. I did a whole video the other day with my glasses crooked. Now, the ironic thing about that is that I don't really need glasses except to see like this. So I have to put on the glasses to see the GoPro. And I had the glasses on and couldn't see that they were they were crooked on the GoPro. So but I got them. I think I got them straight this time. So the Junkyard Jet. So a lot of people have asked me about that. You know, what happened with the Junkyard Jet guys and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give you the quick story of it, without getting into any of the political stuff that occurred also, because that is all open to debate, and I really don't want to get into it. It had to do with trolls and stuff like that. All right, but the project itself ran off into a direction that A, I wasn't comfortable with, and B, I felt it didn't suit the spirit, it didn't fit the spirit of the channel. And this is important. Now, if you go back and you'll find the first installment of the Junkyard Jet videos, when I gave them the car, I told them specifically, I said in the video specifically, that this is an experiment, right? I want to see what happens when you take a couple of guys who've never built a car, never even really thought about building a car, and have them build a car. And my role in this wasn't to show them what to do or dictate or anything like that. My role was to be an observer and a consultant when they needed it, right? So it was up to them to outline the car, the big components that the car was going to have, and the order that they were going to do things, and so on and so forth. And like I said, I was going to cover it on the channel, and we did it first. And I'm there when you need me. So here's the shop space, here's the tools, here's the car, you know, and you know, let's get at it. So they did. So initially, the project started off really well, in my opinion. We did a couple of live streams, and they raised money and got donations and parts donated by the viewers. I thought that was fantastic. You guys were more than generous. I sincerely thank you. And it was all good. And then as they started going along, I realized that maybe they don't either they don't really understand like the concept of this channel or the way we do things, or even the whole quote Junkyard Jet aspect of it. Because in my mind, the idea was to take a car, a derelict car, and beat it together with as little money as possible, and as many used parts, as many junkyard parts as possible, and go out and cut your teeth, and then improve the car as you go along. You know, start off with stock parts or used parts or, you know, hand-me-down stuff. And then as you progress and you feel that you need to upgrade things, well, then you need to upgrade them. And between the cash that was donated to them and the parts that were donated to them and the stuff that I had laying around the shop that I was willing to give them, not my rear end, I figured that would be enough. And these guys will slam this car together and go out and make runs with it. Kind of right after we just started, they began ordering stuff and buying stuff for the car that I didn't really feel suited the mission, but I kept my mouth shut. Well, no, I didn't keep my mouth shut. I told them, hey, you know, this is really nuts. You don't need this. You don't have to rebuild the entire front end, change the bushings, you know what I mean? And then you want to run big ball pattern wheels, get a set of $40 spacers off of eBay and put the big ball pattern wheels on what you got. Get the car running. You know, it's that whole you know, don't get it right, just get it running. You see what I'm saying? Like, start just by getting it running, work with what you got. But they ordered all new this and all new that and all new the other thing. When we had perfectly good stuff laying around the shop, it was like they needed like an oil pressure gauge, a temperature gauge. I had oil pressure gauges, temperature gauges here. Have some gauges, right? But no, that's not good enough. They had to order a whole array of brand new stuff, like top of the line, top dollar stuff. It was like little stuff like that all the way along the line. And once I realized the direction this was going in, and that, like, for them, it was like money's no object, and that was weird to me, you know what I mean? Because this whole channel is based on budget building, you know, doing what you can with what you've got. Once that money's no object attitude crept into it, that's when we started like pulling away, as far as like we weren't covering every step of the build. You know what I mean? We started pulling away and only covering like key steps of it. then the net result was that they spent $21,000 or $22,000 on this car. $22,000. Which, as I explained to them, you know, the 22 grand, if you took every car that's in the shop right now and added them all together, Slaghammer, Plan Z, Bottle Rocket, these couple of darts that are here, would not equal $21,000, right? I mean, far from it. And these are all running functional cars. So that's when we started pulling away, because I really felt that the build was no longer reflecting what this channel was about. And it was no longer reflecting what the donors, what the people who donated cash to them and the people who donated parts to them, it wasn't going along the lines of the spirit in which they participated. So at that point, I felt kind of alienated from the whole thing. I felt it was alienating some of our viewers, and we backed away. But I made a deal, right? And I made a deal, and the deal was that they could use the shop and they could build it out for as long as they had to. You know, like I use whatever tools, use the shop. You know, they were here a couple of nights a week. They were here on Sundays, and it's like, and I didn't interfere with them. I was like, you know, go for it, right? Do it, and I encouraged them to cover it on their own channel, so that people who did want to follow the build could follow each of the steps on their own channel, and that's how it worked out. At some point, things really started to get uncomfortable. They started to get weird. There was an incident with trolls and live streams, all kinds of things leading up to the whole No Name Nationals deal. And at that point, I felt that it was time to cut ties. You know, maybe it was just my perception. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but that's how I felt. So that's what I did. But being a man of my word, you know, I told you you could use the shop, use the shop. I told you you could use, you know, whatever you got to use it. So I wasn't going to kick them out or anything like that. So that's how it evolved. That's how it devolved. And then at some point, that was it. They packed up their stuff and they moved it out. So that's what happened with the Junkyard Jet build. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because I said going in, this was an experiment. And I learned from it. You know, I mean, you're never too old to learn. I'm 60 years old. I've been around the block. I can't tell you how many times. But, you know, new situations, new people, new ideas, right? New concepts, always learning. And I did learn from that. So, you know, there's no regret on my part of doing this. I would absolutely do it again, because it may have a different outcome. It may have a better outcome. It may have a worse outcome. I don't know. But that's what it's all about. You experiment. You go through life and you find out what works and what doesn't. So that's the story with the Junkyard Jet. I wish them well. You know, they've got their channel going. They do updates on the car and everything. So, you know, if you're following that, if you're curious about what they're doing with it, go over to the channel and check them out. So that's it. So Josh is,
that looks much better.
let me see.
I mean, it's not tight yet.
Good Lord. That is superb, bro. That's what Chrysler engineers dreamed of. Before they even got to work, this is what they were dreaming of. Nice job. All right. We're going to go. Tell everybody see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right.